When you're in financial trouble, you wonder if life can ever be the same again. You've got stress, you've got fear of embarrassment, and it can all just eat you alive.
So joining us today to show how sometimes good people go through bad times, and they can help you get your life back again. Our Lady of the Law, Felicia Walker, joins us here. Hey there,
nice
good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So, you know, when people go through some tough financial times, it's just overwhelming, and it just makes you feel so hopeless.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And you know, one of the things that people don't realize is that our forefathers put in laws in place to be able to help you out of those those hard times when it happens for whatever reason. And you know, there are a lot of famous people that have filed bankruptcy. People are scared to death or they feel embarrassed. But we were talking before the show about how Donald Trump, he's probably one of the most famous people. But what some people don't realize is Abraham Lincoln filed bankruptcy. Henry Ford filed bankruptcy twice before he actually was successful.
To keep it alive, right?
To keep it alive, where different things happen. So you have a lot of people with a lot of money that are not afraid to take advantage of the laws that are in place. It's biblical. Leviticus speaks of every 7 years forgiveness of debts, and there are rules in place, but it's not as scary as it has to be. It doesn't have to be embarrassing. And if you look around you, there are more people, not only the Donald Trumps of the world, of course, but you know, regular people too.
Right. Now, if we find ourselves, I mean, bankruptcy isn't necessarily a bad thing. Is it something that's going to follow us now? You say 7 years. Does it go off after 7 years? Do you see credit changes immediately, or does it take 7 years before that happens? How does that all
Technically, you can stay on your credit report for 7 to 10 years, but what people don't realize is that when you have bad credit already, bankruptcy is not going to hurt your credit more. In fact, we see on average within the first 12 to 15 months an increase of 75 to 155 point increase in your score. Sometimes no change at all, and sometimes if you have a really high score but you're surrendering investment properties, or there's a lot of different things that you're never making your way out of, it can hit it a little bit. So it follows you in a sense, but not really in the way you think. And the main reason for that is your FICO score, your credit score becomes, they compare it to other people who have filed bankruptcy, not people with rosy perfect credit. So it does follow you in that sense, and you can't file again for another 7 years and under most circumstances. So you have to get it straight, you know, the first time.
So they kind of know this is your new chance at doing it right. That
you get your fresh start, but in most circumstances you don't do it after that. There are some different options, of course.
Now you mentioned some famous people, but really it happens to anybody. I mean, and I would think that probably, you know, you hear so often that people who end up having medical problems or a child with medical issues just really they get hit hard financially as well as what they're dealing with in their own family.
It's really tragic. We have clients who had health insurance, but they had a child with leukemia. Of course, health insurance doesn't pay for a mother or a father to take off work and trips, and sometimes out of the state. We have heart transplant patients that have had heart transplants. They would not file bankruptcy for anything against the doctors that they've, you know, received a new heart and a new life from. But you know, you can file a Chapter 13 and pay some of those debts back. And also, once a person gets a fresh start, gets back on their feet, there's nothing that stops them from paying those creditors later if that's what they feel is the right thing to do. But you know, you have the people just like that they don't really have a choice, and the creditors unfortunately aren't very sympathetic to it. You know, you have the collection calls, harassments, garnishment, and it doesn't really matter why you're having this financial trouble. And that's one of the reasons why bankruptcy is there. Yeah,
and kind of when you find yourself kind of hurting, or one person is out of work or whatever, the medical bills tend to be secondary. You got to pay the bills. You got to put food on the table. You got to do those things. So that's kind of where you find yourself.
Your child's life, and then they become primary, and then they, you know, your hotel stays, food, you know, that type of thing. So it's not really their fault. I mean, we do have some cases that it is poor management, but
let's talk
most
a little
of them
bit about
we don't.
that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes. So what if you just made some bad decisions with your money?
Well, the good thing is it doesn't matter in bankruptcy whether it was just poor financial management or whatever, because if you do make those mistakes, if it wasn't for something like bankruptcy, you would never be able to get out. I mean, just a credit card with, you know, a $2,000 balance, if you figure out your interest rate, late fees, penalties, over the limit fees, you're never digging out of that unless you know, hit the lottery, and then you're going to have some other issues, of course. But people can't dig out of that, and so therefore they're not able to re-enter, I don't want to say normal society, because bankruptcy is pretty normal these days, but you know, they can't re-enter to rebuild. If Henry Ford couldn't have done that twice, we wouldn't have, you know, our Mustangs and all of that, you know, possibly because of that. So poor management doesn't really matter. The reason why doesn't matter. You can't go out and do it on purpose, of course. There are laws and there's ways that the bankruptcy courts weed out the people who did it intentionally, so there's no fraud. But certainly, it doesn't really matter why. You're entitled to a fresh start.
Let me ask you about this, because I see these commercials all the time. These companies say, you know, call us and we'll take care of all your bills. We'll consolidate all these consolidation things. Is that a way to go? I mean, is that a smart way to go, or how does that pan out? And how can you guys maybe help in that?
Just put me on the spotlight, don't you?
Yeah, well,
that.
it's true.
Unfortunately, a lot of these companies, I can't speak for them all, but we
Right.
do have a lot of experience with people paying, because you have to pay them to do that. A lot of them are working for your creditors, so they're not really out for you, or you're paying them every month. And we have clients that they've disappeared. These consolidation companies have disappeared in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
They don't get their money. Who am I going to sue for them? You can't even find them. You know, they take this money and they leave. So sometimes it is an option. You know, we do debt negotiation if someone doesn't want to file bankruptcy, and sometimes they don't have enough debt, but they have one creditor or one bill that creditor is being particularly aggressive. They have garnishments. We can settle those sometimes for 25 cents on the dollar. You know, there's a lot of different options, which we do it all. So, you know, we're not bankruptcy.
Right.
It just happens to be a lot of times it is the least expensive solution.
You help try to fix it
to it.
first. You try to see if there's a
Absolutely.
solution to all of that. If there's not, then you always have
Right.
this to go on.
You have to be really careful and research any companies you're going to use online.
And so if folks feel like, okay, I've tried to do this on my own, they're garnishing, they're doing all this, at this point, they should just give you a call to see what services that you could provide.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a free consultation for anyone who sees us on First Coast Living especially, and we can analyze your entire situation to see what you can do, what you don't have to do, what your options are, and it doesn't cost anything except a trip to our office.
Oh, and real quick,
There
you're
you go.
doing, to totally switch gears before we go, you're doing a Dancing with the Stars.
Should we dance? Should we,
Gi-
should
give
we do a little
yourself a quick,
something?
give yourself a quick
Maybe
plug.
later.
Okay,
Maybe
then, next
later.
time.
We want to keep it down low so everyone can be surprised and want to come see me. I am. The Beaches Fine Arts Series has a Dancing with the Stars program that I've been rounded up to do, and so we're going to do that on September 21st. But the most important thing is that you have to vote for me online so that I don't have to dance as well
Can
to
you
win.
vote now?
You
Start
can
now?
vote now. You can go to
Quickly give the website.
www.jacksdwts.com, Facebook Dancing with the Stars Jacksonville, and it's for a good cause. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
the Beaches Fine Arts Series does a lot of things with the free concerts, but they also have educational outreach program, which is why I'm interested in it for children, underprivileged
Kick
children.
some
Good
butt,
luck.
Felicia.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go
We-
vote for Felicia.
Go vote.
We want
I
to
need
thank
help.
her. Go and vote now. And we also want to thank Ladies of the Law for their advice, and thanks to Emery, Kast, and Walker for sponsoring this segment.
Remember, the biggest mistake you can make when facing financial hardship is to do nothing. The legal team of Emery, Kast, and Walker understands what you're going through and are there to help good people in bad times. Visit their website at www.jackslawyer.com or give them a call at 904-404-3394 for a free consultation to find solutions to your problems. They have offices in Jacksonville and St. Augustine.